my name is Lo and I am currently in lockdown, week 4. I'm back to being in front of a white wall because I've actually already moved to my new place, but this video takes place before I moved, so I don't want to reveal my new room yet, so this is what you get. Also, my mattress is a bit squeaky and there's a dog barking outside, so there's probably gonna be a bit of ambient noise in this. But anyway, let's get into what I did during week 4 of lockdown. And as usual, a lot of the things I talk about are going to be the continuations of previous weeks, so I'll link them below. On Monday, I finished my puzzle of the Scream. Hey! It's done! And there are no pieces missing, shockingly. And honestly, that is pretty much all I did that entire day. I just ate, went to the bathroom, and did this puzzle. On Tuesday, I once again went down to Federation Square to upload a video using their free Wi-Fi. And then since I was already out, I figured might as well make a day of it. So I took a tram up to Abbotsford to get some really good vegan food from Lentil Is Anything. Also, while in Abbotsford, I got a coffee and vegan brownie from a cafe because support local businesses, and also I love coffee. And then I went to go buy some groceries. Unfortunately, there was something that happened on the road or in one of the businesses near the tram line that I was supposed to take. It was all blocked off and obviously the trams weren't running, so it took me forever to get to this cute little local grocer. But honestly, I didn't mind walking all the way around the city because it was exercise and it was a nice breath of fresh air. I can't talk. Once I got home, I started working on another song, which will be my 3rd total of quarantine. And I started playing around a bit with some harmonies for the song that I wrote last week called What Can I Do? Just kind of making some do 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 backing tracks and harmonies and stuff like that, you know what I mean. The next day, on Wednesday, I started editing the Lockdown Lowdown week 2 video, and then I called a girl that I had met a few weeks, months, I guess, I don't know, time is fake, a bit ago at A Lentil Is Anything, and we just kind of caught up about what we've been up to, what we're trying to get done during this quarantine, and she also had a lot of really great and motivational things to say about really making a decision of this is who I want to be, and then having the dedication and the drive to follow through. We also talked about the importance of just going on walks. Even though we're not supposed to be interacting with each other, we can still be interacting with the world. So after that call, I did just that. And I went on a walk. I was actually intending to go to an op shop to buy some more puzzles, but number one, they didn't have any puzzles left because apparently everyone went to op shops to get puzzles. And number 2, I forgot my wallet at home, so whatever. It was still nice to go for that walk. And then while I was walking, I was feeling really in touch with nature, really inspired from that conversation. So I ended up calling a couple of my friends to set up more creative things. First of all, I called my friend who I already have that weekly creativity check-in call with, and we also decided that we were going to try to call each other one more time every week to just sit on the phone with each other and journal. And then the second call was with my 2 friends from high school, and we've been talking for forever about making a podcast. And okay, I know everybody and their mother is trying to make a podcast right now because that's the thing to do in quarantine, but I'm exactly like that. The 3 of us have a lot in common. I mean, we all went to the same high school, we all are queer, we all are interested in the same general types of things, and yet we also have a lot of differences. We're all in different parts of the world. We're all in slightly different parts of our life. So we've been thinking it would be fun to make a podcast about, the things that unite us and what we mean to each other and what those bonds look like through different time zones and etc., etc. Plus, our conversations are just really funny, so you want to share that. But yeah, we've been talking about doing this for forever, but just never got the motivation to actually sit down and do it. So I called them up and kind of set out a plan for what we're gonna do to get it going. And then I just read an entire book that one day after not having read a book in a while. And I will talk more about that book in my what I read this month for the months of March and April. Lastly, in the middle of the night, because for some reason I just get all of my inspiration in bursts, and started writing a script for a video that I've been thinking about doing for a while. And this one is kind of a more serious video. I'm not 100% sure that I'm going to actually make and release the video, but regardless, it was very cathartic to kind of get it all out onto a piece of paper and kind of give it a sort of narrative and make sense of this aspect of my life. Since I stayed up into the wee hours of the morning writing this script, the next day, Thursday, I was very tired, and I did a dumb thing, y'all. I did a dumb thing. Yeah, I locked myself out again. I didn't have my keys on me. I didn't even have shoes on. I didn't have my phone. Luckily, I was able to knock on the door of the person underneath me, and he let me use his phone so I could call my friend, so that my friend could get the spare key from his aunt and then come over to rescue me again. And the whole process took several hours, which I spent just awkwardly sitting in my lovely, beautiful, amazing, fantastic downstairs neighbor's living room. And again, luckily, these downstairs neighbors were just super sweet, really cool too. He was like a drummer from Colombia, and we were able to sustain a conversation for a couple hours without it getting too awkward or boring. So I guess that's nice, but yeah, obviously not an ideal situation. And I realized too that the only reason why I keep locking myself out is because I have never lived on my own before. I mean, I've lived in a house with my family, and then I lived in a dorm, and then I lived in apartments, shared houses, etc., but I've always had somebody else who could let me in. So yeah, I've been learning a little bit about myself in that I really truly am very absent-minded and I can't live alone. Anyway, I finally got back inside thanks to my neighbor and my friend. And then I finished editing my Lockdown Lowdown Week 2 video, and I started writing another script because I realized that my video and my creative left out a couple things that I wanted to talk about. So I'm gonna make a little addendum to that where I talk more in depth about those things. The next day, on Friday, I spent several hours looking up ways that I can stay in Australia again next year. Basically, I am on the work and holiday visa, which allows me to work anywhere for any number of hours per week. There's very few restrictions on what kind of work I can do for 1 year. Then there is an option to extend the work and holiday visa for a second year, but in order to extend it, you have to do 88 days of what's called specified work. So I'm trying to figure out, if I want to extend it for a second year, which honestly, I am not in a rush to get back to America at this point, so that is looking like an appealing option. But if I'm going to do that, I'm gonna have to find a qualifying work by about mid-September. So yeah, I spent a couple hours just reading up on all of the requirements and restrictions and stuff, and checking out, especially right now, what kinds of jobs are being offered, and then also looking back to last year in September, what kinds of jobs are being offered at that point. Just trying to figure out what my options might be if that is a path that I decide I want to take. Then I finished that song that I had started on Monday, and this song I am calling Move. Once more, I shall not be sharing with the internet what this song is about, because once again, it is horrifically embarrassing. But one day, perhaps when I am in a different situation and further distanced from these emotions and the song doesn't carry the same baggage that it carries right now, maybe I'll upload it onto this channel. We'll see. The next day, on Saturday, I called my two friends from high school once again, and we kind of talked about our podcast plans a little bit more. And then I continued working on 3 different scripts for future introspective videos, including editing that one serious one that I mentioned before, and collecting a bunch of media that I could use as like evidence and examples. And again, that video is on a pretty heavy topic, so that was kind of emotionally exhausting to sort through all of my old videos and chats and stuff to get media for that video. But I did it, I made it through, and I think if I can build up the courage to actually make that video, I think it's gonna be really cathartic for me. Lastly, on Sunday, I went back to Prairie Market and bought some groceries, but not a ton because I was gearing up to move and I was kind of wanting to wind down the amount of stuff that I had to move. And then I made a really, really good pesto sauce pasta. And then I made a sugar scrub with like brown sugar and coconut oil, which I've been using every time I wash my hands since then, and oh my god, my hands are so soft. And then lastly, I filmed and edited my week 3 of Lockdown Lowdown. So this week I was reflecting a lot on interconnectedness. I don't know, I mean, obviously we're in a time of isolation, so it feels like we're very disconnected. But I mean, for me, I've been trying really hard to stay connected as much as possible, and I think I've been doing a pretty good job of it. Like, I've been calling my friends from Nashville a lot more frequently than I ever did before. I'm now trying to set up a podcast to call my friends from high school every single week. I called that girl that I had met at Lentil Is Anything, and I think the fact that all of us are in this same position, we're all searching for some kind of connection. So I think now more than ever, it's actually almost easier to build connections with people. I've also been thinking about, just in general, apart from all of this coronavirus stuff, the idea of dependency. I know in American culture, we talk a lot about being independent as a very high virtue. Financially independent, emotionally independent, fiscally independent. No, that meant financially. Physically independent when you move into your own house, when you get your own car, etc., etc. A lot of these things are seen as like markers of adulthood and maturity, and what we should all be striving for is independence. But like, why? I mean, when I was standing shoeless in my friend's flat's stairwell, I was in that moment very dependent on other people, but it wasn't a bad thing. I ended up meeting my neighbor because of that and realized that he was a really cool person. And I hope, kind of in a way got closer with my friend because he helped me out, and now I'm even more grateful for everything he's done for me, you know? And it's like, yeah, okay, I wish I hadn't locked myself out. It was a stressor for me and for my friend, and it was unideal. But I don't think I can definitively say that my life would have been better if I hadn't found myself in a situation of dependence. And I don't know, I mean, I feel like to some degree, the idea of independence is just a complete myth. I mean, yeah, you can call yourself independent if you do your own grocery shopping, but you are dependent on farmers planting those crops, harvesting those crops, the truck drivers who transport those crops from one place to another, the grocery store workers who stock the grocery store and check you out at the checkout counter. And I think now, to bring it back to our current situation, a lot more people are starting to really appreciate the fact that we live in a society and nobody is really truly independent. And I think that's going to be a really good thing for all of us, because this idea of independence can actually be really, really dangerous. Now we're seeing a lot of people protesting to reopen businesses and stuff, and they're using this independence narrative to support it by saying it's my body, it's my choice, and if I want to risk my own health and safety, I can do that. But I mean, they're not independent. Their choices are going to affect other people, whether they like it or not. And the longer it takes us to realize that we are all, in fact, interconnected, and we do all, in fact, owe it to each other to keep each other safe, the longer this pandemic is going to continue spreading and killing people. So I don't know, I mean, that's been on my mind a lot lately, and I hope that if nothing else, people will learn that, as cheesy as it sounds, we are all in this together to some degree, and we have to take care of each other. We can't just continue on with this mentality of independence, like I'll do my thing, you do your thing, because we do all affect each other. Even though we have to socially isolate right now, ironically, in some ways, we are more interconnected than we've ever been before. My well-being is intrinsically tied to the well-being of everyone else in this planet. And once we recognize that and start to appreciate that and start to actually care about the well-being of others, I think all of our lives are going to get a lot better. So yeah, that's all I have to say for this week. Hopefully those scripts that I was talking about writing this week will soon become actual videos, so stay tuned for that. I'll see you again soon for week 5. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. I really need to figure out a better outro.